Tuz Biber FM.
Hello, can I see your passports, please?
All right. Great. So, welcome back to the Passport Comedy Podcast. I'm Leon Sandler, and today I'm joined by...
You need my name?
For these purposes.
All right, it's Matt Castellvi. How are you?
Matt Castellvi.
Yeah, you got it right.
I'm all right. I'm back working the podcast mines, and Matt is joined by...
Zoe Brownstone.
All right. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Yeah, and also Murat Gençoğlu. You always skip me, man. You always skip me.
Murat's microphone was off until just a few seconds ago, but he somehow turned it back on. Yeah. He's now operational, so he gets to be in on this.
Yeah. His girlfriend's the only one listening, so we should
right.
really...
We thank her so much.
This is for you, girl.
That's right. Until my mother gets a hold of this.
And she'll be the best supporter.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Patreon.
I'll get my deep voice for her, too.
Excellent.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. This is, take it live.
Nice.
I'm uncomfortable.
Oh, good.
Quiet storm. All right. So, Matt, Zoe, could you tell our tens of thousands of listeners something about yourselves?
Okay, sure.
Zoe, you're originally Canadian.
Yeah.
Right? And Matt, you're from the States?
That's right.
Awesome.
That's right.
So, I mean, how did you two end up in Europe, and how'd you start doing comedy?
Sure. Zoe, you want to go first?
Yeah. I was living in Amsterdam for 2 years. I moved to the Netherlands 6 months pre-pandemic, and then I kind of got stuck there. I moved there to be with my partner at the time, which was such a smart decision. That's a good investment.
You said at the time, so I'm guessing,
For sure, at the time and now. Both great life decisions on a whim, still paying for it. I started doing stand-up, and Matt was there, and we met, and it was, I don't want to say it was like a comedy love at first sight kind of situation, but it kind of was.
We've been in love ever since.
We've been in love ever since. Only on stage. Off stage, we kind of hate each other.
I get it.
It's kind of violent.
You make fun of each other quite a lot.
That's
which is
putting
what
it mildly,
true
but I
love is.
appreciate it.
That's
Yes.
what love is in comedians'
Exactly.
language.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Abhorrent hatred.
When
born
we're
in
talking
hatred.
about liking it rough, we're talking about like all the jokes about Zoe being incinerated.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jesus.
Toasted to a crisp.
Oh, God.
Any gas chamber joke, don't bother. Matt's already said it.
I did most of them.
He's winning awards for best Jew killing jokes.
The audience likes them. I don't know what the deal is.
In Amsterdam,
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Recent history. So I was there, and then I left the Netherlands because they deported me, and I had to, and moved to London, and that's where I live now.
Awesome. And Matt, how about you? How'd you move to the Netherlands and start doing comedy?
Sure. So I've been doing comedy in the States for a while, mainly improv comedy with Second City, IO, Annoyance Theater, Comedy Sports. And back in 2018, I was touring Europe with my ex and comedy partner, doing improv, and we went through Amsterdam and met the people and owners of Boom Chicago, which is the big improv theater in Amsterdam. It's like host for Seth Meyers, Jordan Peele, Jason Sudeikis, all the Ted Lasso people. Met those guys, got it in great. And then in 2019, we were doing another tour. And when we came through Amsterdam, they just happened to lose a couple of cast members. And we were just kind of there at the right time. And they said, do you want to join the cast for a couple? We were like, no, not really. We got a thing in the States. But we had kind of left a lot of things. And so we were like, all right, we'll do it for like a couple of months, like 3 months. We got there in November of 2019. And then in January, late January of 2020, we're like, yeah, let's sign a 2-year contract with Boom Chicago. And then, as you can imagine, in February of 2020, everything went to shit. But we were like, well, we're already on contract to be here. So let's just stay and be in lockdown and see how that shit goes. And then we stayed, did some shows and whatnot. I was primed to leave. I was just like, I'm not leaving Amsterdam until I get what it was like prior to January of 2020. I'm staying. I'm sticking with this dead ship, and I've been there ever since. And so I'm stationed in Amsterdam and still doing shows at Boom Chicago. Right now we're on tour and just doing some shows here.
What do you prefer, Amsterdam in COVID or Amsterdam out of COVID? COVID?
Out of COVID.
It was kind of fun in COVID.
It was interesting.
Dutch people were like, pandemic who?
Yeah,
what? We've never heard of that.
Yeah, the Dutch didn't
Turkey
give a
was
fuck.
kind of the same deal.
Yeah,
With like,
they're
yeah.
just, I don't know, like in the Netherlands, I don't know if it was like that here, but like in the Netherlands, they were like, oh, we'll just continue like lobbing money at the problem until it's over, which is, I don't know for you, Matt, but for me, which was like hilarious because
great.
where I come from, like in Canada, we have too much land and like too many people to do that, so they couldn't. Canada really suffered during COVID.
It was interesting because during the lockdown and during the COVID, the audiences because the Dutch, they came back every couple of months. They'd go on lockdown, and then in the summer times they'd be like, COVID what? And so those months were great because the audiences were incredibly thankful because they'd been locked down for so long, and then they're just
and sad.
and
the
sad.
Lockdown and sad.
And sad. So after the shows, they come up like, "Thank you. This is the first time we've gone out in
First time I've laughed in years.
forever."
Yeah.
I mean,
Since the 90s.
I mean, they're Dutch, so they didn't laugh during the show.
Right. They sit with their arms crossed.
Politely
yeah.
thank you after for being very funny.
Yeah.
Like, if I could laugh, I would have done it. I swear to you.
This is good. This is also the best show I ever seen. You
An
know?
hour of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're touring in Istanbul.
Yes.
For the listeners of this podcast, it's not
that's
going
right.
to be relevant, but next time.
Yeah, folks,
you
if
won't
you're
miss
just
out
listening to
these guys.
this, whenever you're listening to it, you're already too late.
Yeah, you missed it.
Matt and Zoe have left the country.
We did so
We're
good.
in our third season on SNL now.
We were
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
I remember.
Sorry. You snooze, you lose,
You can-
Istanbul.
You can catch Matt on whatever streaming service has replaced Netflix.
Yeah.
YouPorn.
YouPorn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm already there. I'm already on YouPorn, so that's fine.
But now consensually.
Yeah. But it's great here, though. I mean, I'm loving it in Istanbul. It's fucking beautiful. It's absolutely, and the crowds have been fucking really nice. Can I swear? Because I've been swearing.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah, sorry.
If anyone listened to this podcast, I think they'd be fine with it.
Yeah, Murat's girlfriend. I'm sorry.
She's 5 minutes, yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, you show me some pictures of her. That'd be nice. I don't want to put a face to this, but yeah. And so we're here, and then I'm going to be going right after here. I'm going to go straight to Antwerp. I'm going to be opening up for Alan Carr, doing a show there.
Wow.
And then back.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, I opened for him back in.
I was gonna say, didn't you just do?
I did.
Where was that? Built in
the De La
Belgium?
Mar
Oh.
Theater in Amsterdam. And
that?
it was great. It was so nice. The dude is so fucking cool, by the way.
Really?
Alan Carr, I don't know. See, I'm American, so I don't know anything about British culture. But
huge.
apparently Alan Carr is incredibly famous.
Yes.
And so I was told that it was quite the...
Yeah, he's not famous enough for you to know him, but he's incredibly famous.
It's like,
To other people, people on that strange island over there, they seem to like him, whatever it is he does.
They told me it was quite an honor, and I believe them. But so yeah, I opened for him, and the guy crushed. By the way, the guy is incredibly funny, and was really down to earth. And like I said, he's best friends with Adele, and so Adele. I think that guy is really good, but. So yeah, and then I opened for him. Then I'm going to open for him again in Antwerp right after I'm here on Tuesday. So I fly out of here.
It's a great practice run, Istanbul audience.
Wherever Alan Carr is, we're keeping you from him.
I know. I think he's doing fine.
But I got to you first, so
I think he's doing okay.
it's
Yeah.
Alan Carr and me and Adele. That's the chain of command.
It
starts
goes right down that
right
hierarchy.
that way, exactly. And it ends, and she's like the omega of this. All right, so you both have been performing in lots of different countries with English, like native audiences, and countries where English is the second or third language.
True.
So, I mean, how would you compare the different audiences that you've been in front of all this time in London, in the Netherlands, and here in Istanbul, for example?
Dutch people are trash, so that's
Well,
pretty
it's
much
a good
it.
thing none of them listen to this.
Definitely not. Listen, the thing about Dutch audiences are just like they like having the piss taken, which is great. So that's
when you
fun.
say that, do you mean in the British sense? Or?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so.
Okay.
Not in a literal, like I'm not taking samples.
Okay, I'm just saying I've heard some things about Amsterdam. I'm like, all right, what is she?
I wasn't doing those rooms.
I do those rooms.
Yeah, that's Matt's territory. I don't
Great
want to
urine.
tread on that.
It's
Yeah.
so much
all
urine.
black light.
Weirdly,
in there.
they don't like women, so
No,
that's perfect for
absolutely
Matt.
not.
No, but Dutch audiences, they're very tight. They're very like there's a. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but in a general sense, Dutch people are hesitant to be vulnerable and sort of silly. And the trick to getting people to laugh, you got to open up a little. You got to be a little vulnerable. You got to be willing to be like, oh, I think that's funny. I don't care what the guy next to me thinks. And it tends to be like a bit of a tighter room, which is good and bad. Like, it can be kind of stressful if you're not doing well. But then once you get them, they can be very generous with laughter.
They're on
once
your
you
side.
break through,
Yeah.
yes,
After that, they're kind of on your side and they're with you to the
Very
end of the
much.
thing.
Yeah, you got to do like a bunch of Dutch jokes to like let them know, like, I understand you, because they feel kind of superior in a lot of ways.
wonder
You're in
why.
blackface, I'm in blackface. We're working it out. We're making it work.
People think the Germans invented the superior race thing, but I'm pretty sure it's the Dutch.
Yeah. That's why those windmills look like swastikas. But you have to do a couple of jokes ahead of time, being like, I understand Dutch culture, and you can, and also they're.
I rode my bicycle here and everything, folks.
There's two things I feel why the Dutch are like that. One is, like Zoe was saying, they're very reserved, and they don't like that, and also that they're very cheap, and so they know that they've paid money to come to something, and so they're like, all right, this better be fucking good.
Yeah.
And then another part of it, I feel, is like they come to these shows and they're just like, it's a zoological experiment to them. They're just like, they come to see like, oh, this is what the American or
they're
Canadians
learning
are
what
like.
comedy is for the first time, and we're not even mocking some other race.
Right. And a lot of them, it is their very first time seeing comedy ever. They're outside of Netflix. And so they're in Boom Chicago, the first almost half of the show is just training the audience to be like, all right, you can laugh.
Right.
You can, like, this
You
is
guys need
appropriate.
like an applause sign, like a late night show.
Not even just an applause sign. Like, it is very like commonplace at a comedy show in the Netherlands for the host at the beginning of the show to literally teach the audience how to clap. Like, they'll do this thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna try clapping now. Let's hear your golf clap, and they'll do a golf clap, and it's like, okay, what about if someone was at a what is it the Tim says, like you're at a corporate event.
Like how would you do it?
Yeah.
What, now you're at Coachella, and now you're doing
and the
MDMA
end just
is
hit. Yeah,
kicking
it's
in.
literally that.
It's a room full of 5-year-olds.
It's pretty tough because, I mean, Matt and I come from North America where comedy is much older.
Yeah.
There's more of a sort of an ingrained heritage, and it's just sort of, we know how to clap and when to laugh.
Yeah.
Right. It's something we've talked about a lot is that I think comedy, stand-up especially, it's still kind of an American and Anglophone art form.
Sure.
So, I mean, I've heard comedy in Turkish and in Russian and obviously from different countries around the world, but it's still it still feels like an American thing that's being sort of tried in other places.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, sometimes there are comedy scenes, but it is kind of like, a lot of people tell me that audiences still have to learn what this is and how to react to it.
Yeah, a lot of their experience is just through streaming services, things like Netflix. They see it online and they see like, oh, I want to see what that's like in real life, and that's only happened within like maybe the last 4 years or so.
Very young.
At least in the Europe market, as I've experienced. Yeah, that's just it's such an open just forum right now. It's like a blossoming market for English speaking comedy because there's a lot more, people doing remote work, expats. Living out wherever they want to live, and they don't want to learn the language of whatever that place is.
That's right, folks. We're talking about me.
And me too. I didn't learn any Dutch.
I don't know.
I know like a
nothing.
few
I already
phrases.
speak English. What's the point of that military budget in NATO if I have to learn a second language?
It's cool though. It's an opportunity also for people to see stand up as more than just dick jokes. Like I'm seeing now, like when I go to, like I was in Bulgaria a few months ago, and I've done like Prague and other little cities that like you wouldn't really expect to find a comedy scene in, but there are growing comedy scenes, and it's not, I don't have a lot of dick jokes, but I do have like
Most of my material.
Yeah, it's most that's Matt's territory.
It's on you porn,
But it's like people are exposed now to like different areas of stand-up than they ever have before, like beyond what you would find on a streaming service, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, one thing that I really like about stand-up as an art form is that, what keeps it fresh is that different people will have different perspectives. And in every country and in every culture, you're going to have some different perspectives, different points of view from different people. And there's also something about like seeing it live. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but like, of course there's Netflix and Amazon and YouTube specials now.
It's not the same.
But there's just something about being in that room, and there's like when you do crowd work or when you're reacting to the audience's reaction or whatever happens, you get heckled and you respond to it. There's so many things that are only going to happen once.
Yeah.
And it's like there's always something about just being there when it happens, when it works well. When it doesn't, it is extremely cringe, of course. But like,
Excruciating.
yeah.
But there's something about, I don't know, I honestly can't identify it, but a live show, and I record all of my sets just to listen to them later on or just ignore for 3 years. And
that's more
whichever comes first.
Yeah, whichever comes first. But I find like even listening to them, it's so different than when you were there on stage.
Yeah.
And it's the same as an audience member. Like I've seen I've seen some incredible comedians live, and I wouldn't really watch, like, I saw Dave Chappelle live, and I don't watch his specials anymore. I mean, for other reasons, but like, I really will only see him live now because it's just not the same experience to be in the room with him.
If I'm getting the transphobia, I want it direct.
Exactly. I want to be able to be in his eye
fresh off the line.
Thank you.
I'm not going to get it
before anybody else hears it. Yeah,
exactly. It's like
I
getting
don't
it from a
be able
bakery.
to pause Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is kind of like it's getting Dave Chappelle without being able to tweet react him is kind of
pretty much
interesting experience.
You can't have your phone out at his shows anymore.
I wonder why.
Put them in exactly.
What could have happened?
Where did it go wrong?
It's interesting being here in Europe versus North America in England because the audiences there they do come from this heckling background because they have it. They I guess think that that's a part of the show. That it's like they want me to heckle. They want me to talk to them.
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation, which is not usually the case.
That's how they toast in weddings too in UK.
Oh yeah.
They love heckling.
No, yes. But then here in Europe, there's not a lot, at least for me, there's not, which is like, I don't.
You're such a good comedian. No one ever heckles you.
I would prefer, I love if they were to heckle me. I love dealing with audience because I'm ready. They're not prepared to
Please
like,
let me kill 5 minutes at time.
Yeah. And also the heckling part of it, those usually are the best videos too. It's just like the interaction, that like explosion that happens.
See that New York comic, Ariel, last week?
Oh yeah,
Holy shit.
Exactly.
She's now viral.
Yeah, she's a comedian, and I don't know where she was. Somewhere in the
I think she was in
Trump.
like the boonies of New York.
Right.
Like outside of New York.
Yeah, and some heckler tossed a fucking beer can at her, and then she became viral. And now she's going to be like going on Seth Meyers and shit like
Zoe,
that.
I've got a plan.
Yeah. So tonight, if you're coming to the show,
I'm not saying I want you to get assaulted, but
we
will catch it on camera. I swear to God.
Yes.
I mean, the can missed her, so it's like, and then she drank the beer, and that was kind of a thing.
That was excellent. She also like dealt with it very well.
So was that guy just giving her a free beer?
It wasn't a guy either. It was a woman.
Oh, it was a woman.
woman tossed it at. Yeah,
I know what you're thinking. It was hot.
All right.
Yeah, just tossed it at her, and those interactions are like priceless.
Yeah.
That only happen in that room at that time.
Some things can only happen once.
But it's also like, people, I think wrongly, people are always like, yeah, comedians are like the philosophers of our time, which I think is kind of horseshit. But there are opportunities in live comedy where it's like, wow, this is such a reflection of our political landscape right now because she was a Jew on stage talking about left politics, and there was a right-winged woman in the audience who had a problem with that. And I think it was like a very clear moment where it's like, art imitating life.
Yeah. And it's like the last space for free speech, too. It's like whoever is on stage gets to say whatever they want. And unfortunately, that offends a lot of people.
Right. And the
especially
audience
in this
gets
time.
to react within bounds. But like, within bounds,
How would you feel if you learned that was staged?
I'd be disappointed.
That was my first reaction when I saw the video. I was like, she is very smart for hiring that woman.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was staged, but
no, I don't think so. I think the audience was very on her side at the time.
Yeah, it's hard to find a cast member good with aiming, right?
Yeah.
And that one now he comes from the improv scene.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I deal with like stupid audience members all the time, and and audience members, they just want to be a part of. Sometimes they just want to be a part of the show. They think like, I'm funny too. I can be a part of this, or they're just drunk. A lot of the times, they're just drunk.
That really will do it. A lot of times,
Especially improv audiences.
Especially improv audiences are just fucking hammered
deal with it. As opposed to like stand-up audiences, typically like you want to talk to someone, and in my experience, they're always like so shy and reserved. They're like, I don't even want to tell you my name. It's like, what do you think? What is that?
If I had functional social skills, I wouldn't be at a comedy club.
I mean, it happened here. I was doing a show. I did a show the other day for a Turkish audience, and I was doing crowd work at the time, and I was just like asking people where they're from and their relationship status. I went to this one couple, and I was just like, oh, you two are, how long you guys been together? And the guy was just like, why are you asking me? I swear to God. He's just like, what?
I've had that before. It's like, hey, do your job, buddy.
It's just like, oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to know where you're from. And then I moved, and like I ripped on him for like a fucking 20 minutes.
Which goes back to like people learning what this art form is and learning to be an audience member, as you said, with improv or with stand-up is still a thing. Like you have to learn how to be an audience member.
To train them.
Yeah. You have to train. We're smarter than them. We're better than them.
Yes.
I keep saying this. That's
Superiors.
why they give us their money.
Yes, we're the superior race.
Audience whisperers.
That's right.
Now you laugh.
All right, so Matt, Zoe, you've been doing these shows in a lot of different countries, and obviously you want to create a lot of fresh material.
Sure.
You probably don't like just doing the same bits over and over, especially if you're trying to keep it timely and political and all that stuff. So what's your process like? How do you go about creating new material?
Well, I guess I'll just a lot more reps, just getting reps on stage. And then, like you said, it's a little bit difficult if when you're going to different places, because I'm in Amsterdam for the longest time, been there for 3 years. So a lot of my material is very Dutch based. But when I travel, I have to like cut out all that material.
All goes out the window, yeah.
And then cut into like what is kind of unifies us, what kind of things that do everyone deal with.
What races do we all hate?
Well, exactly. I just changed the race. It's like, oh, okay, these people. And then I have to kind of like move. It's like, all right, relationship stuff, talking more about about me, what the people want to do. A lot of it I'll work on the spot. Like I'll just have an idea of some like a joke or a punchline, and then I'll just kind of because I come from this improv background, I'll just kind of work into this and see what happens.
Right.
And then if that works, then I'm like, all right, I'll write that down. How did I say that exactly? And then I'll try it again on the next day or the next day and see. I was like, all right, that worked here, that didn't work here. But most of it is just constantly writing, just like whatever. It's like a stupid thought comes in my head. It's like, all right, that's kind of a kernel, a seedling of a joke, and then I think I can't figure that out once I'm on stage.
It sounds like you're writing a lot, but then you have to develop it on stage and improv it out. And I think there's something like to be said about improvisation. I think any comic has to be able to improvise, and like anybody can write a script and go on stage and do it. But I mean, like to be able to respond to audiences, to be able to do crowd work, to be able to something happens in the last week and you want to respond to it. That's kind of what we were talking about with keeping it like live and fresh.
Yeah.
But how about you, Zoe? How do you what's your process for creating material?
I mostly just like steal from other comedians.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Kind
I
of
forgot about that.
been
Yeah,
working for me.
Norm Macdonald is dead. What's he going to do?
Yeah, he's not using that shit.
Mine now.
No. I do all the Cosby jokes. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, well, somebody should use them.
Rework them for a white guy.
Yeah.
You're fine. You're there.
Theo!
I do a lot of
pudding pops. Something in the pudding pops.
This guy's killing.
Excruciating.
Fresh material.
How do you put up with this for months at a time?
Really good noise canceling headphones.
Yeah. What brought to you by Bose?
Yeah. Sponsored. Yeah. I wake up in the middle of the night and do voice notes. That's kind of been my go-to, and then I hopefully listen to them later. And same as Matt, I'll find like a kernel or something that I think might be funny eventually, and then I just fucking slip my wrists over, not literally, but figuratively kill myself over just a dumb idea. Like I've been trying to make this fucking fart joke work for months, and maybe in a year it'll be funny, but right now it's just people are like, no one will fuck you now. No one will
Everybody's
fuck you.
like, I've been working on this fart joke for a year. Listen.
It's tough, man.
I've been crafting this thing.
But do you know how hard it is to write an original fart joke? It's very
difficult.
And it's difficult because also people look at me and they're like, she doesn't fart. No way. No way does that
woman
fart.
farting?
Yeah, that's impossible.
I've known you long enough. Yeah,
she does. She
really
does.
And they're good. They're real good.
They're good. They're like it's a whole rainbow,
good.
right? Like sometimes they're silent, sometimes they're noisy, sometimes they smell, sometimes there's not. Like it's really all over. Yeah. And I'm just trying to find where my reality lives in that universe. No, I don't know.
Just living between two farts.
Exactly. The problem is
that's title of your album, right?
Yeah. Where the fart lives.
Where the fart lives. Where the farts go.
The problem for me right now is I just moved to London 6 months ago, and the scene there is very competitive, and there's a lot of comedians, and I'm still auditioning for a lot of shows, so I can really only do my A material, which is sad because that material needs to be retired. I'm just trying to find more opportunities where I can just do fresh stuff. The open mic scene is a bit different there than it is in Amsterdam, so it's a bit harder to get just sort of like 5 minutes of shitty time. I'm just gonna puke out some new material, whereas Matt, you get to do those fucking boom shows.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like when I was doing open mics in Denver, I had to drive half an hour to get like 4 minutes of stage time, which they would cut to There was a list of 44 comics. They put me down at the bottom end. Everybody else in the room was gone. Like I've got more stage time living in Istanbul, Turkey,
Good for you.
than I could have ever gotten in the U.S.
Well, it's funny. That was me in Toronto. Like in Toronto, you can do 5 shows a night every night of the week. If you grind, there is a show for you. I mean, obviously pre-COVID, it's kind of getting back to that now. And I did for a long time. I would do every open mic. I would get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and do 3 minutes of shitty material. And that's kind of how I started. But then when you move to a new country, especially with a smaller comedy scene, like in Amsterdam, not an option. So like for my first few months there, I was auditioning for a lot of shows, and you just grinding out new material is a lot harder in a smaller comedy scene. I'm hoping once I get to know London a bit better, I'll be able to like eke out more time. But
because when you're trying to do new material, you have to dare to bomb. You have to be like, I don't know if this is going to work. And like, so this, and like you were saying, like when you're in a very competitive market, you have to do your best stuff. And like, I can't do
bomb.
an amazing, I can't bomb. And so you're kind of, you stagnate into that same level until you can go to like an open mic and try like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then sometimes like, this is a stupid joke. And then I'm like, I'll just say it. And then end up being like, oh, the audience really reacts to that. There's something here. And then you kind of build around that like a nautilus shell.
So much of stand-up is bombing and being bad. And like I think a lot of comics when they're first starting out, they labor over their first 5 minutes and they really like they bleed and sweat over it. And then it's a good 5 minutes and they're like, oh, comedy is easy. I can do this. And then it's like, no. It's your third 5 minutes. It's getting to your next hour. And it's like you can only do that by being terrible.
Being really
George
terrible.
Carlin said like you can play the violin alone. You know, you can do other stuff. You can't do comedy alone. You need an audience. You need like a stage to try it.
And audience is really pitiless. I really see comedians similar to service industry. For example, you get a good rating, reviews on a restaurant, you go check it out, but it was a bad day for them, and they serve you bad food, and it's on the blacklist for you forever. It's same with the comics. They see a worse set of yours. Maybe it's your bad day, but they will never come to your show.
Yeah, because I come when I teach classes, and I tell my classes is I hate the audience. I have a bitter hatred for the audience, and because they, unfortunately, we need them. All right, they kind of tell us like we can't do it like you're saying alone, but they know nothing about comedy. They're fucking stupid.
They're little babies. They don't know anything.
Fucking children.
You gotta overpower them with comedy. That's the thing. You
have to take them by the hand and be like, "Yo, this is funny."
This is funny.
But you can never say that.
But I see what you're saying about the Colonel though, because sometimes it is like that. Like something that I think is funny, I trust myself enough to know that if something is making me laugh, there's something in there that's funny. It might take me a while to get to it or to phrase it right or to build the right like delivery for it. But if it makes me laugh, I have faith that whatever it is funny.
Yeah, and if you're watching comedy, like I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge comedy fan. Like
it's hard now.
It's hard
being
now.
In comedy,
there is
it
an
makes it so hard.
oversaturation of comics. You know, it's not the same as when I was growing up. Matt is much older than I am.
Shut the fuck up.
But it's not the same as it was back then. There are so many more comedians now. It's hard to find like who you can fall in love with. But you know, if you're in the industry, you're listening to comedy all the time. You can start to hear sort of the origins of some jokes. It's like, oh, she got this from this little tiny tidbit, and now it's a 7-minute bit. And that's manna from heaven when you find a small idea and you can just tag and tag and tag and tag until your eyes bleed.
And I have a problem sometimes because I see the strings when I watch comedy now. I'm like, I know exactly what you're doing right now.
You're looking under the hood and seeing how the whole thing works.
So I'm like, it's like knowing a magician's trick ahead of time. It's like I can't really enjoy it like I did when I wasn't doing.
You ever just see a comedian try to sell a really like mediocre joke with a bunch of like physical gestures?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. All right. Well,
that's every improv comedian of all time.
I was like,
blazing guns.
Yeah. If you get those cameras, you can see noodle arms. That's my style.
That's right.
Wackadoodle.
Wackadoo. And sometimes it works.
Rarely.
Let's save a joke.
Zoe, you gotta try roast battle in London if you never tried it before.
Yeah, stupid.
I tried it.
Murdoch's been to London, yeah.
I had a zero lose streak for a while until I went to fucking Edinburgh and got my ass handed to me. I love roast battle. It is so fun. And the thing about roast battle, which is great. Okay, two things about roast battle that I love. One, most new comics are scared scared to do roast because they're like, oh, I don't want to like be targeted and like I'm scared and blah blah blah. A good roast, a great roast comes from a place of love, comes from a place of understanding.
Hopefully.
It's I don't want to roast anybody who I'm not friends with. It's like it's a camaraderie and it's fun. It's a good environment. Second of all, it is a great excuse to write for a show. There are fewer and fewer shows where it's like, and I'm not a fan of the gimmicky like, this is a themed show that you must write jokes for. But as a fucking lazy individual, I like having a deadline where it's like, okay, I gotta write 5 jokes about Matt being like prematurely gray and having dick problems. Like,
where did that second part come from?
That's a deadline
Where did you
that
hear
I
about
have
that?
to hit. That I have to hit that deadline.
Who's been talking to you? I want to know.
Who hasn't
Oh
been
my
talking
God,
to
that's
me?
right. I forgot my blog.
I have this strange disorder, sleeping and sending dick pics.
Oh yeah, is that me?
It's like
All right, good.
sleepwalking, but different.
Narco-dixie.
Does this look great to you?
Narco-dick-lepsy.
But to that excuse that people don't want to get targeted in roast battles, I find it really shitty because a comedian can't take a joke. You shouldn't exist. It's
Comedians
paradoxical.
cannot take jokes.
Yeah,
Like
they're
I
very
find more and
sensitive.
more, and I don't mean to lump y'all into a category, but the
We're
white
a team.
boys,
Oh, okay. Never mind.
the white cis boys, especially,
I'm
can
going to
get.
cut you off right there. It's,
I need to
That's all our
explain
time.
something.
That's all our
I
time.
don't know. It's not at all insensitive. I just believe that sometimes it's all right to hold your ground.
Once in a while.
I feel bad doing these roasts because I did a roast. I did a Zoom roast.
Oh, I'm so
my
sorry.
God. And I didn't know the guy
That was
that I was
terrible.
roasting.
How did you
Hey,
do
yo, my
that?
man's connection's so weak.
What did you just look him up on Instagram?
I looked him up on Instagram. That's all I could do. And
How'd it
then
go?
Yo, what is that background?
I don't know if I hurt his feeling. I don't know because then like you click and then Zoom calls over. And it's like I wanted to apologize. Like it's okay. I said 'cause we didn't like go over each other's
How did
material.
he roast you?
I don't remember. It wasn't good.
about your weird
but I
dick.
also was just like at the time being like, you don't fucking know me. Who the fuck are you
Get the
saying
fuck
that
off
shit
this
out of
Zoom
here?
call, bro.
How do you
What
know
I
I'm
like
Cuban?
about so what I like about UK roast battle is that when you get paired with someone, like I didn't know any of the comics to begin with, but when you get paired with them, you have to send them facts about yourself, and you send like 10 to 15 facts that you're okay with them roasting you on, and like so I did that, but it was like, and I got facts from the other person, but I was like, no, fuck that, I'm gonna like find my own information.
Oh,
on
so
this
you're like, yo, let me
person.
really hurt this person.
Yes, very
Let me
much
cut
so.
in.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're like bringing up, you're like talking to
Hacking
their
their
old
bank
teachers from
accounts.
high school.
Yeah, I'm obviously gonna do my own background research. Like I'm a sneaky Jew. That's my job.
Easy.
Yeah, calling Mossad and getting more information.
I wish I could call
Israeli
Mossad.
intelligence.
Oh my God.
Don't have that connection yet.
No, man.
Israelis are top tier Jews. You can't
They're
fuck
the
with
best. They're the best Jews. Let me just say that.
Just want to let the listeners know that you are a Jew. Ish.
The listener knows.
Jewish?
All right.
Means Jew-like?
Yeah.
Jew-like.
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 Aspiring.
I like that as a better adjective than
Jew-like.
Jewish.
Yeah, Jewish.
Jew-like.
I just because like a lot of I grew up Russian Orthodox, but a lot of my family's Jewish, so I
shit.
always describe myself as Jew adjacent.
Jew parallel.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
it's
Nice
like-
to
Jew
see.
and Russian, huh? Man, it's going great for you, huh?
Double whammy, yeah, of like you know.
Whenever something happens in the world, we just look at Leon and say, connect to Hive Mind and find
Here we
what's
go.
happening.
Now.
Yeah.
I am. Oh, bože moi.
Oh, bože moj, yeah. Yeah,
man.
All kinds of guilt coming at me from
Yeah,
both
that's a
sides.
lot. That's a lot of ancient guilt.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what you did.
Yeah. So you talked a bit about like crafting the fart joke you've been working on for 6 months.
Yeah.
So like, what material are you guys usually working with, and do you feel like, not just that some material doesn't connect with some audiences, but do you ever feel yourself having to like step back based on the audience? We've talked about that with Murat sometimes, or with other Turkish comedians, that there's stuff that they can say in English that they may not be able to say in Turkish because you know.
Yeah, I have to constantly remind myself not to write for audiences. I find that like when I sit down to write a joke, the first thing that enters my mind is, will people find this funny? And I have to really step back from that and say, no. What do I find funny? Because 100% of the time when I'm writing for an audience, it does not land. I get lucky that the things that I find funny work on stage sometimes, and that becomes a bit that I use. Right now, I'm working on like some really personal material about when my mom had cancer, and that's like a very personal subject. I don't expect most people to understand, but I think that like when you write from your own experience, it's always better than saying like, oh, you all know what this is like. It's like, they might have
absolutely.
no idea.
It has to make you laugh first.
Totally. And my mom's cancer makes me laugh a lot.
It's really
It's very funny.
It's really funny.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Totally.
Like a cancer cell multiplies.
And she's alive, so we can joke.
Best of both worlds. Best of both worlds right there.
I killed the bit.
No,
Just like the cancer killed my mom. No,
Hey,
she
come
didn't.
on.
She's fine.
All
She's
the
doing great.
material, and then you just cut it out.
yeah.
All right. And Matt, how about you? Like, like we talked a bit about, writing things down and then working them out on stage. But in terms of like material that you're working with, what kind of material do you see yourself doing? Are you like trying to be an expat comic, or are you just like noticing things in daily life? Or
Sure. I mean, a lot of it will be. I mean, my character on stage is a little bit different than my real life persona. I like to think so. I'll lean a lot. I'm American, so I have to lean a lot into being a dumb American. So that's a double because I am.
Yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword because I can say a lot of things and that other comedians might not be able to get away with because audiences will be like, oh, he's just a stupid American. But on the other side, I'll try to do more storytelling things from my life. And being a comedian, audiences like to, they'll really enjoy that. But moving after that, I like to think about, because when you're an expat, you kind of like, I have to throw away all my American references and things like that. And I have to be like, all right, what audiences, who comes to a comedy show? And for my opinion, it's just couples that want to fuck. Anyone that's in an audience is trying to fuck the person next to them. And so they're just thinking about it. They're all thinking about it. So I'll talk about sex, relationships, dating, and then a lot of crowd work. I'll just deal with the crowd because I come from an improv background, and so like me interacting with the crowd is like we were saying before, it's amazing, and like the energy in the room, it's like only happening in that for that room, for that audience, and I'll just try to keep pushing that until some kernel comes into a corn on the cob.
And I think people like that because they like to be brought in on things, right? I think the audience likes when you break that barrier between you and them, and then you're kind of like, okay, we're all in this together, right?
Yeah,
so
and they like people making fun of. They like a lot of, like we were talking about roasts. Like the audience likes to be roasted a little bit because it comes from a place of love, and they like to like talk to them like, oh, this guy's stupid, like this, and because I'm American, they know that I'm just a dumb American.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They don't care.
Like, don't worry, folks. I can't afford insurance in my home country. That's why I'm here.
For the most part, I mean, I get people get mad at me all the time after shows. All the time, I get we get emails at Boom Chicago about me, about things I didn't even say.
It's called Boom because Matt has a gun.
That's right. That's right. I carry right here.
He is American.
Very American, and so it's difficult sometimes just being a comedian because there's a lot of people are sensitive. Some people don't like being a part of the show.
Why are you at a comedy show?
That's what I say.
It's like if you're a vegetarian, why are you going to a steakhouse, right?
But it's to the sensitive folk who go to comedy shows. It's also like I think it's an unconscious need to be seen and torn apart in some small way is very satisfying because it's like in no other context are you going to get that opportunity. And people, I think, really want to be inspected. I think we all want to be looked at and seen and dissected in some sort of weird way. And like comedy is one of the last places where a stranger will do that for money. Like,
people want to be kind of recognized by somebody else.
And going back to the
I get
Dutch,
how your life sucks, dude. My life sucks too.
Yeah. Going back to the Dutch,
exactly.
like that, I think that's why Dutch audiences come to shows because it's like nowhere else in their life is someone going to say what's actually going on because they're so stuck up.
And the audience members will, before shows, will be like, all right, it's his birthday, make fun of him. Or it's like, oh, can you make fun of this guy? Or like say this, and they enjoy it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to do it if that's what they really want. It's just fucking rip on a guy who you don't know. And then after the show, they're like, oh, thank you so much. It was so fun. They take pictures with me. And that's the majority, but it's just the small vocal minority that come and then they're just like miserable and they're just like, I want to only hear jokes that I like, that I approve.
It's like going to a strip club, right? It's like you're going to the strip club, it's your birthday, you're going to get a lap dance. Is it going to be weird? Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yeah, but that's what you're paying for, you know? Like, you don't go to a strip club to see people with their clothes on. Like, just like you don't go to a stand-up show to see people read the phone book. Like, that's not what's on the table.
Maybe a Muslim strip club.
Yeah, maybe a Muslim comedy show, too.
Yeah, just in a burqa.
Just read the Quran.
Slowly showing the nose.
Oh, baby.
Look at her ankle.
Oh my God. Woo! Yeah, girl.
That is haram.
That is haram. Yeah, so it's
Is your girlfriend Muslim?
Yeah, Murat.
Are we gonna get in trouble?
Yeah, I mean, she's not Muslim, but her family is Muslim, and
So hot,
they're
dude.
asking
That's so hot. That's so fucking
because
hot.
we are living
Forbidden.
together. Her family is asking for us to get imam nikah. I don't know how to
So
translate.
you're asking to get like Islamic permission to like
Get married?
Yeah.
to live together, right?
Get married in front of Islamic priest.
Yeah, in front of
Imam.
Imam.
Yeah. Are you gonna do it?
Well, we promised to do it.
But doesn't that mean that you have to become a Muslim?
Nah,
You don't have to be
Everyone
good
is
at
gay.
it.
Man, fuck that
So
shit.
it's like a loophole in Islam.
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of
so hot.
Muslim people to have
Fucking
one night
love
stands.
Islam.
Yeah.
They do
Okay.
this.
Yeah,
To become a Muslim, it's like you say like one sentence, right?
Yeah, that sentence is
I am a Muslim.
That is, yeah, pretty much. I love
called
that.
the Shahada.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
With Jews are not accepting applications. We
Yeah.
it's much harder to become a Jew.
Do you want to become a Muslim right now?
I think
can-
about it sometimes. Going into that
Okay.
into the Hagia Sophia, I was like, "Whoa, you guys got a sick building. It's got wall to wall carpet. It's comfy in here."
Just came for the carpet.
Yeah,
Like,
synagogues.
man, this is a good carpet.
Synagogues are not as cozy. They're
No.
drafty and they're full of Jews.
Well, oh my God, are you serious? I'm not in it. No, thank you. No carpets.
Yeah, carpets are very specific. I was walking down the road with Victor here, and he's saying every Turkish person, every Turkish guy specifically looks like a carpet salesman to him.
That's right.
That's
his
not
reference.
racist at all.
He's not wrong. He's kind of everybody
like
knows
carpet
somebody
salesman.
who works in textiles here. You know.
Yeah.
It's, How are there still neo-Nazis? It's like the global Jewish banking conspiracy. It's like I've heard that one before. Come on.
Yes.
I feel like neo-Nazis are kind of like stand-ups because they've been working on the same bit for like 70 years, you know? And they've
No.
been working-
If you're gonna make the comparison, it's like neo-Nazis are amateur open micers.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of them are in real
Those
life.
QAnon guys, those are
They
like
killed
improv
for
guys.
5 minutes
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Now they want to kill all of us for the rest of time.
QAnon, that's like improv because those guys are just yes-anding the whole thing.
Yeah.
They're
Can I
like, yes,
guess-
Trump is president and JFK is still alive and he's a clone and he's gonna it's great.
Can I get a suggestion of a race I don't like?
Yeah, exactly.
Now the only thing
Jews?
We're
Jews?
gonna
All
need-
right, Jews.
only
We're gonna need a
group-
city. Yeah.
It's crazy. Everybody hates Nazis. Like everyone hates Nazis. They're so loud about hating Nazis.
know, and they're so nice.
The only people that are hated more than Nazis are the Jews. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the great irony is that,
so
but it's a
nice.
quiet hatred.
It's quiet.
It rumbles under
For
the
some,
surface.
for some, for some it's quiet.
For some. For
others it's not.
most.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless your name's Kanye.
Heyo. God,
That guy's got more Twitter followers than there are Jews.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
By twice. There's twice as many. I think it's more actually. It's
So
got
it
30 million
should be
followers.
pretty easy for him to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think
Yep.
so?
It's gonna go
that
DEFCON
guy.
3.
DEFCON 3, which is in the middle of DEFCONs.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I feel like he was just maybe he didn't know which one was the highest and lowest, or maybe he was just kind of splitting that. you
Well,
know.
that's DEF CON.
I'm gonna start DEF CON,
only goes
yeah,
to 3.
DEF CON. But I
That's
like
the
how
thing.
he said the Jewish people, all caps, because if you say the Jewish people, all caps, okay, not great. Jewish people, not great, but the Jewish people, better than the Jews.
The
Jews, whoa.
Yeah,
I know.
that's crossing a
Yeah,
line.
the Jewish people. It's like he was trying to be nice about it. I'm going to go DEFCON on the Jewish people, people of Judaic ancestry.
Yeah, who knew that
the
guy?
Jews.
Who knew that guy with mental illness would be so crazy, right?
Hey, people are blaming it on mental illness, but honestly, it was strategic because
think so?
he did that second tweet before they took down the first one. The second
yeah.
tweet was like, "We all know who's responsible for cancel culture,"
Yeah.
and that went up before the first tweet was taken down.
I think,
It was
no.
very strategic.
You know, what it was is I think he got banned on Instagram for wearing that White Lives Matter
Yes,
T-shirt, which like,
yeah.
okay, great, you're doing the Clayton Bigsby black white supremacist bit live.
right? And who owns Instagram?
Awesome. No, exactly.
The Jews.
Zuckerberg.
On Twitter, he posted a pic of him and Mark is smiling, which I'd never seen before. And it's like Mark, how could you do this to me? You used to be mine, and then you used that word that I can't use. But so that was on Twitter.
I mean, we're being anti-Semitic. I'm sure we could be racist.
Yeah.
The
too.
day
Yeah,
after
no.
that,
I'm a black
he gets
man.
banned on Instagram. He's like Death Con on the Jews, which I don't like, but I kind of respect. Because,
Yeah.
other people get deplatformed. They're like, oh, well, no, I made a tremendous mistake.
No, he's not taking. He's not walking that back.
He's leading into it.
Yeah.
He's like,
I mean,
oh,
he's
leading
preparing
into
his
it, yeah.
platform for 2024. It's not the
great.
dumbest thing. We saw Trump get elected off of racism and
Yeah, it's
anti-Semitism.
gonna
It could
rule
work
it.
for Kanye.
It
he
would
would
be
have
so
won
cool
if he
if
would have
it-
said White Lives Matter.
Yeah, but America will never have a
So
black president.
cool if,
Not
if
again.
Trump comes out against Kanye.
Never again.
Yeah.
That's America. Now we fucked up the first
If
time.
they'll see a woman before they'll have another black guy.
Whoa,
Whoa,
careful,
whoa,
careful.
easy,
No,
easy, easy, easy.
hold on a second.
If Trump comes out and he's like, okay, some of the things Kanye said are unbelievable. I would never support that. It's too much.
Too much.
Okay.
Too much.
Unfortunately,
Great guy.
a lot of my son-in-law's a Jew. He's fine.
He's a Jew. He's one of the
I'd love
good
for
ones.
Biden to come out and be like, come on, Kanye with the tweet. Come on.
Man.
I can't have his tweet.
Is that your Biden? That's a
my
pretty good
Biden.
Biden. I like that.
The minute Joe Biden figures out where he is, it's over for
Oh,
Kanye.
no, the poor man.
Where am I?
It's in Turkey, it's Erdogan, yeah?
Yeah, and that's where the podcast ends.
Oh, boy.
Do you like him?
Oh, boy.
Oh, we love him. Sorry,
Murat,
yes,
you
of
got
course.
one shot, buddy.
They're doing different
My
hand
answer
languages.
depends if you're live or not.
I'm going to talk about it on stage tonight.
Oh,
I'm
are
excited
you?
to see- yeah, why
Oh,
not?
good.
I
Yeah,
have no
really-
idea.
All right.
I know that the guy in charge of Hungary is a piece of shit, but I don't
I
know
know.
about Erdogan.
I had great
Everyone's-
shows in Hungary, though. I'll say
bet,
that.
I
I had
bet.
some really good
Did
shows.
you tell them how gay you are? 'Cause
Yeah,
they love that.
that. They loved it, man. I'm not even joking.
Erdogan's party is the Justice and Development Party, which means and he's been in power for 14
CCP?
years. Yeah, which means there's been a lot of justice and development.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, right? That's what we
Okay.
want.
Yeah,
that's
Justice
exactly what's
and
been
development.
happening.
Okay, great. Good for you.
Yeah.
Is that why there are so many Jews in this country?
Yeah. We respect other people's culture,
Yeah,
just like
for
we
sure.
discussed before. White people need their privilege. So to respect their
So good.
culture, we give them the privilege to have their
Hatred.
podcast room to
Yeah.
complete the
nice.
white guy
Yes.
cycle.
Yeah,
Thank you.
this is
Thank you
this
so
is
much.
peak white guy power right here. Is
Peace and
having
justice.
Because they matter. White lives
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, Kanye, yeah,
he
we're
was
gonna
right
get,
about
we're-
some things.
We're gonna get Kanye on the pod. That's my,
That's your next guest.
next
Next
guest
guest.
is Kanye West.
Oh, man. That was the wrong night.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna be on Zoom.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah, when I say Zoom, I mean he's gonna.
We're fucking zooming over here, man.
Yeah.
I actually have a question I'd like to ask
Fine.
our guests. So you live in UK now,
Yeah.
Zoe.
It's a good question.
If you,
Matt.
if Prince or King Charles now,
Yeah.
King
King
Charles,
Charles,
if he asks for you to put one of your jokes on £5 bills, £5 notes, which joke of yours would you choose?
Would put the joke on the
Like
money?
you want to,
To
like you're
write
gonna
it.
write out a joke on a £5
Instead
note.
of in God we trust, we put something useful.
Would it
in.
be short, huh?
It would have, it'd have to be real short, and it would probably be some version of like, I wish that my pants pockets were big enough to fit this dollar bill into it, but it's not. It's not a very funny. Fuck off. All of you should
I
be
didn't
laughing.
say
at that.
anything.
It's a very, how small women's pockets are.
I do
You
know.
can't
Oh,
fit.
yeah.
You can't
I know
fit
that.
a bill, a proper bill,
I know.
sticking up.
I
It's not going to
know.
get in there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So King Charles, he's probably never even worn pockets.
No,
he doesn't need
he doesn't.
to.
He has
Like
servants for that, just carrying his.
It might be the
Right.
fart joke. I'm gonna walk back on this. It'll be
Fart
the fart
joke.
joke for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's about
Appropriate
it's about
for
farts.
£5.
It's about farts and like where do they go when we hold them in? That's what I want to figure. Where do they go? They disappear.
Yeah, let's just talk about my dick.
Yeah.
I was like,
For
hey,
sure.
this is almost as big as my dick.
So this is
So
your
sad for
€5
you.
joke, right?
Almost as big.
It's your €5 joke.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you want me to do? It's not about pockets, I guess.
It's
Jesus.
like you put a little like ruler on the side of the note.
This is
Use
where the
this to
dick starts
measure.
and this is where it
Yeah.
ends. So
No,
it's
for
in the
Matt,
middle.
it'd be like, I'm
It's
going
in
to
the
use
middle.
this to roll up and snort drugs
So,
with
oh,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Decide how much you
Insert
want to
drugs
tip.
here.
Making it, yeah, that would be a
good.
great joke to put on the note.
Yeah.
Which one?
So insert drugs here, and it's an
Yeah.
arrow pointing to
Yeah.
the edge of the note.
Instructions.
It's giving you
Roll
like
on how to roll.
Yeah.
how to
In
roll a
Canada,
joke.
like a
we've got
little-
roll
yeah.
up the rim to win. It's a Tim Hortons thing
Oh,
where
yeah?
you roll up the rim of your coffee cup, and you could do this on the bill. It'd be
There you
wonderful.
go. There you go.
Fantastic.
That's a Tim Hortons plug.
Alright,
I am
so-
sponsored.
You're sponsored by Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Oh,
Treasury
nice.
of the United Kingdom and Tim Hortons
Yeah.
need to come together.
God
for
bless,
this bid.
man. God bless you.
That coffee gives you diarrhea for days.
I've had the best diarrhea here in this
Ah,
country, by the
good
way.
for you.
The
Really?
best,
Oh,
the best.
I'm the
You're
opposite.
backed up?
I'm backed up.
Oh, wow.
Too much lamb.
Dude, so much lamb here, man.
Way too much lamb.
So much
I
lamb.
don't even eat meat, but it's
Getting
in
in your-
everything that I eat.
You guys just stop feeding me. I don't know, like I can't. I can't. Everything where I go,
You
they're
don't
just like throwing
layered
food.
pistachio with fucking
So
phyllo
much
paste. Oh my
pistachio.
god,
I
man!
don't know what's going
love
on.
it. I'm gaining weight here.
I know. Well, someone
Don't
warned
fucking
me.
say I know.
Well,
That's
someone
so
warned me I'd be
rude.
waiting. Not about you. I'm saying.
Dick.
I mean, I can see it.
You can see it clearly.
But
White was a bad
He's-
choice.
Man, yeah, a lot of great food here though. Great food I'm having.
But if you don't eat meat, it's kind of over for you.
Oh, I can't not eat
vegetarians,
meat.
Yeah.
I tried
No
today.
vegetarian
and it
options,
was-
huh?
I'm not a vegetarian technically, but it's too much.
Yeah.
The environment,
The environment? That's the big problem.
Oh, that's pretty much over anyway.
Those
Don't worry
cow
about
farts,
that.
Fuck this shit.
they fucking
We're
ruining the
past,
planet.
we're past the
It
point
goes
of
right back
having-
to farts with you. It always comes
always,
back to farts.
Always. This is why I'm single. Seriously, follow me on Instagram. I'm looking for dates.
Okay, the dates with men, is that what you're saying? Or
Yeah,
just- or
comedy dates, men dates, whatever.
that's right. Oh,
Women
dates, like
dates,
the-
I'll find
the little
the
figs.
jewel
Yeah,
dates.
yeah.
I'll take them all.
dried fruit dates, all that stuff. All right, make that shit happen. Yeah.
It's my pimp, Matt Castellvi.
Yeah. Just pay up front. All right, you can do whatever you want with her, whatever you want.
And that's the promise at the comedy shows. We put.
Promise that.
All
shit.
right. So once again, if you're listening to this, whenever you're listening to
You
it, you've
missed
already
our
missed Matt and
shows.
Zoe. It's too late now. They can't help you. They're off in Amsterdam or London or some other place.
Is that where you're going? You going back to London, Zoe?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Got some shows.
When are you coming back to Amsterdam?
End of October. Don't tell my sister. It's a surprise.
Why?
Why am I coming?
Why can't I tell her?
God, your
Let me
sister
tell
doesn't
her.
listen to
I'm
this
going to jump out of a
podcast.
You
bush.
think I'm in close contact with your sister?
I do.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm
I do.
not.
You're
I'm very much
Instagramming
not.
with her all the time.
I think I saw her at that one show,
Yeah,
that
you might
Sexy
have.
Land show.
Yeah,
she was
came.
great.
She's-
And your
she's
folks.
fine.
I saw
She's
your
all
folks
right.
there
Yeah,
too. They were
They're
great.
very supportive.
They're very supportive.
They have to be.
Yeah.
I have them under contract.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Jews, we like contracts. Why am I being so anti-Semitic?
You
This is
are the
terrible.
most
like you
anti-Semitic
guys-
comedian
Listen, I
I've ever
have
met.
to be.
Kanye notes at this point.
I have to
ready.
be
I
the
got-
most.
I got
That's
some
the rule.
material you could use if you wanted. I would love to be Kanye's anti-Semitism writer.
Yeah. That's probably a really well-paying
Yeah.
job.
That would be great.
If you
yeah.
want
Want to be
Easies.
anti-Semitist? At least write some good lines, good
Yeah,
jokes.
exactly.
Yeah, man, yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
When does this shit come out? This podcast? When does it come out?
Probably next
from
month.
now.
Probably
next
next
month.
Next
All
month.
right.
Yeah.
By the
I'm
time we
dead.
get it edited, by the time we find someone who can hold hostage to listen to it,
We got to take out all the
Yeah.
anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
That-
No, we actually
we'll be
need to
left
put
with
more
5 minutes
in.
of material.
Leave it
we're
in,
actually,
man.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
reading a bunch of Ezra Pound's cantos into the microphone.
beautiful.
Yeah, post-editing process.
Yeah,
putting
it's
more.
actually just a Hitler speech that starts it off.
Yeah. It worked then, man.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's charismatic, like Kanye, you know.
Say what you will about Hitler.
For those listening, you
But
can't
he did
see this,
kill
but
Hitler.
they're slowly strangling me to death as they're telling these jokes.
I got her. I'm holding her down right now.
Hold her down.
Oh, yeah, good.
That's right.
Well, I'll be in Amsterdam, so if you're listening to this, one person who lives in Turkey, come see me in Amsterdam. Boom, Chicago, Wednesday through Sunday. But or don't. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Whatever. Fuck you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. If you're in London, come to a show. If not, follow me on Instagram.
Oh yeah, we'll both
Or
on
just
Insta.
keep circling around Europe till some of the three of us find you. You know.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. We'll get you.
We'll be around, folks,
Yeah.
Until the nuclear bombs drop. We're here.
Oh, you
All
think
right.
so? Man, I hope so. Man, I
It
gotta
won't
get
get aired if
God,
we're
it would be nice.
hoping to get on before
Yeah.
that happens.
Best of both worlds. All right, I think that's it.
That's it. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
having
so
us.
much.
This was great.
Unless you guys want to talk about something else, I don't
No,
know.
No more juice
covered
stuff?
it.
More juice? Yeah, exactly. I feel like you could get some more
I
anti-Semitism.
think we've wrung that towel dry.
Hey-o.
Let's move on
Yay.
to Kurds, Armenians, Greeks.
I didn't get any Kurd shit, man. No.
What are Kurds?
They're like cheese balls.
That's the only Kurd I know about. That's the only Kurd I know.
Hello, can I see your passports, please?